generations. And now, the power of two restores the one.
We got a bidet! Hey everybody, and welcome back to another video. In today's video, we got our latest movie that we went and saw, and that is Founders Day. We are going to give you some non-spoiler discussion here in the beginning, give you a rating out of 10 of what we thought, and then we'll talk about a handful of spoilers for the movie. So let's go ahead and just start this non-spoiler section. All I gotta say is that movie was rough. It was rough. And when we went and saw Night Swim, Sarah liked it a lot. And I was kind of like, eh. And I was getting a little nervous watching this movie. Like, if Sarah is super engaged with this movie, I really don't want to be, like that letdown for two movies in a row. But what's your opinion here?
It was pretty bad. I was nervous even just based off the previews because they were for more minor films, like from not super well-known companies. Granted, some of I remember there was a Blumhouse trailer, so they weren't all for trailers for movies that nobody had heard of.
So to clarify,
But
you mean the trailers before the movie, right?
correct. Yep.
Not the trailer for this movie.
Right. The trailers that were playing in the theater before we saw this movie. And it's not to say that all small movies are bad or anything like that, but just you could tell they didn't look super thrilling. So it made me a little bit nervous when the movie actually started. And I felt like it didn't really get much better in terms of excitement level.
Well, in my opinion, the movie that relates a lot to this one, at least just from a first glance, is Thanksgiving. And we went and saw that movie. I think that was October, November, or something. And I feel like that movie really set a precedent.
We saw it right before Thanksgiving.
It was right before Thanksgiving.
Yeah, we saw it the day before.
I don't remember all this stuff. Anyways, so that movie was really good and I really enjoyed it. And so when you kind of have another movie come out where literally it's almost the same premise, just a different, some sort of holiday or just big day, it seemed like this was more like a voting day or something along those lines.
So it's weird because it seemed like it was supposed to be about Founders Day and the celebration and stuff. But if you look at the description on IMDb, it's a small town is shaken by a series of ominous killings in the days leading up to a heated mayor election.
Yeah, so
So even in the description, they don't even mention Founders Day.
that's interesting. Yeah, because I kind of wondered the same thing, they even talk a little bit about, like the founding fathers in the film. So I thought it would have been something separate from the election, but it really seemed like they were connected somehow. So um but yeah, so Thanksgiving really set the bar high, and then when we came in to watch this one, there's a lot of stuff in this movie where it was I literally just put my hand on my head and was trying to hide that I was giggling again because I didn't want to give that impression to Sarah of, he's already checked out and it's a joke. But just to give a couple of things here, without actually spoiling the movie, there's the beginning sequence. One of the girls walks through a movie theater, and there's two high school kids sitting on top of what looked like the popcorn display for the movie
The
theater,
concession counter.
and they were just throat deep in each other, with their tongues. And I'm just like, that would never happen at a movie theater whatsoever. And then like those two characters are just known for that for the rest of the movie. So there's a part later on where they what is it? Oh, they're like faking some of the murders, and there's actually two things here that I thought was unbelievable. They were trying to fake the murders, like to tease people. And so the teacher comes out and he's like, "Hey, knock that off." And then they're like, "Yeah, we'll get right on that." And then they just go ham on each other's throats again with their tongues. And it's just like, what the heck? That would not happen. And then the teacher drops the F-bomb on them. And I'm just like, that would never happen. Like, there's a lot of things in social media today, and you can look them up. I mean, the most recent big case that came out was about the teacher that took someone's Nintendo Switch away, and then the student decided to like maul them. You know, things are a little out of control with school. I get it, but I really don't think a teacher would drop an F-bomb on a student, let alone, just kids doing such sexual things out in the open. So there was a lot of things like that that really pulled me out of the film, thinking like, I I get it. There's suspension of disbelief, but that's not it. No, no. I don't know about you, but I feel like that stuff was just stupid and it should not have been in the film.
I didn't really focus on that too much, but I was more distracted by the poor acting quality. I feel
Yes.
like especially in the beginning and maybe not so much towards the end, either that or I just got used to it, but things felt very staged, very directed, very micromanaged. Things just didn't look natural. From how people were walking or going from one activity to the next to how they were reading their lines. A lot of it seemed very forced.
Yeah, I was even getting to the point where I was like, there is so much bad acting. Like, is it the director that's just not, telling them what to do properly? Or are they asking for them to do it this way? Like, what is going on here? Because, like you said, like that for the beginning, like probably would say the whole first third of the film, it is bad. Especially like the politician people in this movie, they are really bad at their job here. Um, but I even thought like towards the end, there's a segment where one of the dads was like his daughter was being taken away, and he was like, "No, stop!" And I'm just like, "Huh? You wouldn't act that way. Just put your hands up and tell a car that's driving away to stop. Like, no, you would either be booking it down the street or trying to, grab a car or something. Find somebody that's right there with the car to go chase him down. But like that reaction, I just thought it wasn't super genuine. Um, so yeah, there's a lot of things the suspension of disbelief was too far, and then at the same time, the bad acting, it just really pulls you out. And to a point, again, we saw Thanksgiving. I was really hoping something was going to come out of this film that like kind of lived up to that a little bit, but never quite got there, unfortunately. Even when, again, not spoilers, even when we got to like the very end with the reveals and stuff, I just thought like, what really is what's the reason for all these like killings and stuff? Because as I was like piecing together, oh, these people died. It might still be these people. Oh, what if this happened? When I'm piecing this all together, I felt like even I came up with a better explanation to what they were doing. So I don't know. It it's bad.
Yeah, I feel like more towards the end, I was a bit more engaged, just trying to follow what all was happening. But it wasn't necessarily because I was like super interested. It was more just almost to a point where it was kind of hard to follow, if that makes any sense. And there were a lot of subtle things that were happening throughout the film, like little callbacks at the end to things that you saw in the beginning. Some of them maybe a little more cutesy than like just the killer making callbacks and stuff when you're trying to piece together who's doing it. Uh For just as an example, so you know what I'm talking about. In the girl's locker, she's got this picture of her girlfriend and it says roses are red, right? And so later in the film, you see somewhere written violets are blue. So it's kind of calling back to that picture. Little things like that that uh I guess were more or less what I was trying to focus on just because I needed something to hold my attention. Because otherwise you just get bored because there wasn't I don't know. I feel like it was too complicated and not complicated enough at the same time. I wasn't really invested in the characters.
Yeah, I had a problem with that too, because I was thinking like, am I gonna walk out of this theater and really not care about a single one of them from the film? Like there was one character that I actually liked, and it was the teacher, played by, let's see, where was it? William Russ. He plays Mr. Jackson. It's interesting too because I kind of felt like he looked like Jerry Springer, and I was like, "There's no way that's Jerry Springer," but strikingly looked a lot like him. I was like, "Where did I see this guy from?" And once I got home, I was like, "Oh my gosh, that was the dad from Boy Meets World." So it was kind of cool to see him in that. I wish I would have had that lens to watch the movie when I was watching it to be like, "Oh, now I know who this guy is. I can, you know." Enjoy it a little bit more. But I don't think it's asking too much for audience, like for the audience members to be trying to, figure out what's going on here and almost predicting or hoping for what's going to happen in the film later on. So, like, I feel like we're justified by saying we saw this thing happen. We thought it was going to be much better and it wasn't based on our predictions. You know what I mean? Like people say, oh, just because you didn't get what you wanted, it doesn't mean it's not a good movie. Is like that's that in this case, it kind of is because that you're trying to figure out, who's the killer, what's going on. Um,
This type of movie's been done a handful of times, Thanksgiving being probably the most recent one, but think of how many Scream movies there are, like this is not a new concept. So, um,
yeah, so
I feel
if you're gonna put a movie out, you have to think what has been done, what can we do to make it better, and it's just like what can we do to make this a streaming movie where we don't pay as much and then release it to theaters hoping it'll make a lot of money? I
yeah.
kind of think that's what happened.
Yeah, I don't know about you, but I'm ready to jump into ratings.
Yeah, we can jump into ratings. I'll just go right out and say it. This movie was a 2 out of 10 for me. I don't think it's incredibly like dysfunctional, but going to the movie theater and kind of expecting, a solid movie when you're paying like we have the movie pass, but the average person is going to be paying like $13 to go see this movie. That's definitely a 2 out of 10 for me. It's definitely not average. I think it's well below.
Yeah, I was kind of trying to balance between a 3 and a 4. I think I'm gonna settle on a 3. I don't know that it's quite a 2 for me, but I feel like it had some value. I just wish they would have put in more effort with the characters and the acting and maybe piecing things together a little bit more so it was a little bit more fluid of a movie. So I'm going with a 3.
I was gonna say it's only like 3 weeks into January and we have a contender for worst movie of the year. That's kind of sad. But that was our non-spoiler section, so we are going to transition over to the spoiler section. So go ahead and click away if you don't want to hear it. But what we got going on here is there's two characters. They are in a relationship. It's our lead, Allison. And then, let's see, what was the other girl's name? Dun, dun, dun. I feel like she should be at the top of the list. Melissa, right?
Yes.
Allison and Melissa.
Yep.
So Allison is going to be moving away, and the two of them are in a relationship. And Melissa's kind of like, I know you're going to be moving away. Can we just, the couple of months that are leading up to you moving away, can Can we just have like the best relationship possible? And then once we part ways, we'll part ways. And while in the mix of this conversation, here's the one of the first things that pulled me out of the movie. So during their conversation, Melissa has this lock that she got from the school, and uh, I guess it was like on their lock. Oh no, it was from the movie theater.
Al Allison got it from the movie theater.
Allison got it from the movie theater and was trying to show like she cared about Melissa, and it
It's a very
was
typical, stereotypical thing, putting a lock on a bridge to show that, your love is going to last forever.
right, but she like takes the lock and loops it around her
Her
jean
belt loop.
belt loop. Thank you. And right as that happens, a truck shows up and the headlights are blaring in their eyes, and Melissa goes over there to like confront this person of, "Oh, you want to watch a couple of girls make out," kind of a thing, and then the person gets out and attacks her. And the thing that drove me nuts is I was like, I'm sure that Allison could have ripped her jeans a lot faster than she did to try and go help Melissa, but she was acting like she was handcuffed to the thing until the last second, after Melissa had been bludgeoned and then thrown over the side of the bridge down to the water. Then finally her jeans snap, and I'm just like, I don't know about that. I feel like if my friend was being attacked like that, I would have ripped that sucker a lot quicker. Um, so she goes running
Or
back.
just straight up taking my pants off if I really couldn't rip it.
True. That would have worked as well. This is another thing that really got me going, huh? Was when she runs back to the town, and what's happening in the town is that there's these two groups bickering about, who they want for the election. And when she goes up to them, she like is pleading with them, saying, Melissa is dead, Melissa is dead. And they're at first they're like, what? What's going on? Maybe we should help. And then they like surround her, and I didn't understand what was happening. Like, were they trying to, what were they doing?
Well, I
I
don't think she said Melissa's dead. I think she was saying they killed her. And so at first the person's like, well, who killed her? And then it was, oh, your side killed her. Oh, your side killed her. Like metaphorically, because I don't think they understood that somebody was actually dead. I don't know. It was very strange. And they did one of those spiral camera moves, which I hate so badly.
it just
If you
didn't
don't
make
know,
any it didn't make
if you
any
don't know what I'm
sense.
talking about, it's like when they're zooming out and they just slowly tilt the camera and so that they're looking at something like upside down now, and it makes me motion sick every single time. It doesn't add anything to the film. I just drives me nuts.
It was rough. Like it it set the tone, and unfortunately that's like the first 5 to 10 minutes. And so
But
uh
yes, to your point, the actual what was happening, I don't know. It didn't make sense.
yeah, because like someone is begging for help, they run to a mob, and the mob just literally closes in on her, and then they're just still yelling at each other like they're being told that something happened, and then they don't really care. Anyways, so is it like the next day or a couple of days later?
They made it seem like it was the next day.
Gotcha. So what's it? They're back in school. It's when we first meet the teacher. Um, and the students are very quiet, and he's kind of like, let's address the elephant in the room. Things have happened. Police are still working on it. We'll do what we can, kind of a thing. Um, I'm trying to think. There was so little that was going on here, but eventually it leads to that scene I was talking about where Allison is at her locker, and one of the students tries to play a prank on her, you know, faking this, stab people in the hallway with a retractable blade. And that's when the teacher stops them and finds out it's the makeout couple. And, the teacher drops the F-bomb on them, and then they make out some more. Then they run down the hallway, and now they have two Saturday schools. So that was that scene. That happened very soon after the other one that was pulling me out of the movie. Um, how much do we really, deep dive here? I mean, should we just talk about some of the kills and whatnot?
I would just go with the progression of murders just to kind of move things along. Um, we've got a party at the I think the first one is the party at the movie theater, right?
Yeah. So that was Lily, right?
Yep. So there's a party at the movie theater. The current mayor's daughter is also part of this group who works at the movie theater, and she winds up getting attacked and killed there and left in a dumpster and found the next day.
There's
Uh,
also there's also a little bit of love triangle thing going on where the uh not the mayor, but the person running against the mayor, the guy, it's his son, and his son had a relationship with Lily before, and she's talking about how she regrets, you know, not being there with it. So we get like this very uh poor high school drama love thing going on in this movie as well. And it takes up a lot of time with other things as well. So yeah, Lily gets killed in the mix of maybe they'll get back together. Um, let's see, who else? Who's next?
then we jump to Saturday school, and the teacher leaves the room, and the two kids are gonna do it on his desk.
Yeah,
And
that's believable.
as they're trying to get ready to partake in those types of actions, that's when the boyfriend gets killed and the girl tries to run away. She hides under the boyfriend does get killed, right? And the girl hides like under the bleachers in the gym because the door is locked, and she winds up getting killed under the bleachers. And they never go back to her. Like they never show her get discovered or anything like that, which is kind of strange. It's just once she's dead, she's just gone. We don't see her the rest of the movie. Like not even the discovery of her body.
They just wait for the next basketball game and someone's like, "You smell that? What the heck?" And then there she is.
Well, they mentioned her in the body count later in the film, and they were talking about 5 kids dead or something like that. Um, but Allison had forgotten something at her locker, and so because she's in the midst of packing up her stuff to move away, so she went back to get that thing from her locker, and then that's when she sees the killer, right, drawing their weird messages on the board. So the killer winds up being her girlfriend's brother, right?
Yeah, the politician's son,
Yep.
Lily's
Um,
boyfriend.
So he's like, I'm sorry, it's not supposed to be like this. And he tries to kill her then. So she runs out of the school, and her dad actually winds up killing him before he kills them. Boy, that's kind of confusing. So Allison's dad kills the politician to be's son, right? So obviously that's some more drama because now the politician guy who's trying to run for office, his daughter's dead, and now his son is too. Um,
And I also want to point out here that the politicians keep talking about, uh, it, you get more attention if one of your kids would die. Like that, you get sympathy points in the voting. And so that's a big thing that they are emphasizing here throughout the film, too.
yep. Yeah, so now both politicians have their kids dead. Uh, but we know that he wasn't the only killer because he had spent the night at Allison's house when the murder at the movie theater happened, right? So who did that killing? Um, from here, I think our next killing is probably the mayor's, I think. So you want to jump that far, you think?
Sure, I was having fun with my picture.
Oh, okay. So yeah, so um the current mayor, she's like super drunk because she's mourning the loss of her daughter and also having to put on a brave face to deal with, the public not being super thrilled about the safety of the town being so bad right now. And uh the mayor to be, or the runner up, the guy who's running against her, is in her office and finds all these things about how she's been a shisty mayor and doing bad things with town dollars and stuff like that. And so they go at it, and then the killer, who is still wearing the mask, right, that you see in our backgrounds, winds up killing both of them. And then the county commissioner, or the cop lady, right? She comes in and discovers this, so then she gets killed too, because you can't have witnesses, no loose ends, right?
I also want to add here, because this is another part of the film where I was just like, sit down and shutty. So when the mayor is super drunk and they're supposed to have some sort of town hall meeting, this is all like right before she gets killed. She's supposed to have a town hall meeting, and she's supposed to be a part of it, of course, and say what the plan is to figure out what's going on. And she tells like her advisor person, I'm not coming out there, I'm not going to be a part of this. And so when he goes out there and there's, I don't know, 40 people from the town there at the meeting, he mentions she's not coming, and they're like, what the heck, she's supposed to be here, blah blah blah. And so they all get in like a big uh commotion. And then she just throws the doors open and is trying to tell people what's what. And honestly, she did not sound like a leader. She didn't look like, I mean, I know she's partially drunk. I get it.
Oh, she was hammered.
But it there's no way anybody would rally around her. Like, I don't understand how she
Well,
says,
the crowd straight up said she's crazy or she's off her rocker. Like they didn't believe her.
right, right. I'm saying, like, from her point of view, why even go out there? Like, why? I know they call it liquid courage at times, but still, I mean,
I
they're
think she was just that drunk she thought that was believable. That didn't really pull me out. I mean, I thought it was dumb, but I didn't really think it was like that wasn't necessarily a bad acting moment. She was just really freaking drunk.
well, I thought it was very dumb. But carry on. So so she
I can agree.
dies,
Dumb. Yep.
the male politician dies, and the commissioner dies. Next.
Yeah, so we've got Allison at the police station. I guess this was a little bit before this because at this point the commissioner was still alive. But they're happening at basically the same time. It's like one event happens, then the next, right? So they're back to back. But Allison and her dad are getting questioned at the police station. Uh, she's waiting in the truck for him to come out. Some other teenage kid who's been part of the group, he's kind of like the bad boy of the town, I guess, winds up driving away with her because they're wanting to retrace their steps and try to figure out what's going on. And so the dad is now in the cop car chasing after them with a cop driving, right? So it's not like he stole the car. And
This is the scene I was talking about where the daughter's taking off in the car, and he's like, whoa, stop. And I'm just like, no, that ain't how it goes. Anyway, sorry. I just want to point out where some of these things are.
I feel like it'd be more believable if he did steal a cop car, like just hopped in and took off, you know?
Right. Either that or run after the car or something. I don't,
Yeah.
who just stops? He just seems so helpless.
Yeah.
When earlier on the movie, he killed somebody for his daughter. So it just didn't add up.
Yeah. Yep. So Allison and the other kid are at the bridge, right? That's where her girlfriend was thrown over the edge, and so she's trying to figure out what's going on. And one of the cops shows up and the dad's not around, and so it's really weird, and the cop is trying to convince her that this guy she's with is very dangerous, but nothing he's done has really proven him to be a threat. Uh the cop slips up by saying that like her dad's at the station, but then he says, "Come on before your dad wakes up." And so she realizes something's wrong. There is a struggle between the cop and the other kid, and so the other kid actually is able to steal the cop's gun. And in the midst of their struggle, the cop is shot, and so he dies. And that other kid, he is handcuffed to the bridge. So she just says, "Deuces, I'm out of here," and leaves them both behind, both the dead cop and the guy who's handcuffed to the bridge. So she goes home, right? And this, by now, we're pretty much to the end of the film. There's messages all over the house, like little poems and stuff. The roses are red, violets are blue, stuff like that. Her bedroom's really weird. She had like a cast iron tub in her bedroom.
Yeah, that was really weird.
And she's on the second story too. So like cast iron tubs are freaking heavy to get that up there and have it be in your bedroom. Like it was strange.
Yeah, what if you got
But
water all
on the
over your
tub
bed?
and like, huh?
So what if you got water all over your bedroom? You know?
Yeah, you'd have to have a lot of towels, I guess. But written on the tub in like lipstick, it says "Look under your bed." And I don't know about you, Jeremy, but I'm pretty sure if I thought something bad was under the bed, I'd grab a broom or something and like poke under there before I just get on my hands and knees to look under there.
I wouldn't have gotten as close as she did. I would have been like backed away and, trying to
Well, she had a bed
eyeball it.
skirt, so you had to lift the bed skirt to see.
I feel like there was a little bit that she could have saw under there.
But she sees somebody in a black outfit with the mask on, automatically assumes it's the killer and stabs him in the throat, then finds out it's her dad being framed.
Was it the throat?
That's what it looked like.
I thought
If
it looked like that too, but he ends up surviving.
I know, and he's not even harmed or bleeding like the rest of he's like knocked out, but he's not like bleeding out or anything like that. It's weird. It looks like he gets stabbed in the throat, right? So the real killer comes out and smashes like a vase or something over Allison's head. So she wakes up handcuffed to the bed. Her dad's handcuffed to the bed. And this is where we kind of have that big reveal of here's what's been going on the entire movie. Would you like to take that on?
Sure, because it kind of actually lined up a little bit with what I thought might happen. It turns out the killer is Melissa, and the whole beginning of the film was staged.
The
Uh,
girlfriend.
yeah, the girlfriend that supposedly was killed in the beginning and thrown into the river. And so I really didn't quite catch what her motive was. Did you?
Keep going because the master puppet kind of uh
So let me ask you this before I get there. So was her motive just because she was part of somebody else's motive? Is that what you're saying?
I think she was convinced to participate because of how much she hated her dad and the election.
Okay, I'll carry on with that then. So basically Allison is getting explained to her all these different things. Like I said, how the beginning was staged. And after getting through, this little explanation, um, that I guess she wants to like kiss her and stuff, and so they start kissing, and then the girl bites Melissa's lip, and she's like, "Well, this will make it even more convincing because what Melissa's going to try to do is the exact same thing they did in the Scream series, where she kills all these people and tries to flip it and make it so that the victims are actually framed, and then she gets off, free." Uh, However, the teacher shows up and walks into the room, and basically some more things unfold. Uh, how did Allison get away? Because she goes after Melissa.
So Melissa was wanting the teacher to do some of the killing because
Oh, that's right.
yeah.
That's right. So Melissa and the teacher go out in the hallway. I thought this was probably one of the best parts of the film as far as the filming. So Melissa and the teacher go out in the hallway and we see the shadows of them. They're talking, and Melissa says, hey, you got to be a part of this too. You do it. And she's trying to like hand over the gavel knife thing over to the teacher so that he goes in and, takes care of Allison. Well, when he goes into the room, Melissa does follow him, and he looks like he's going to stab Allison, but then with in my opinion, very bad editing, he turns around and actually stabs Melissa instead. Um, and then Allison she tied or was she handcuffed?
She was handcuffed to the bed, but it was in a way that the teacher lifted the bed and she still handcuffed, but was able to slide her handcuffs off the bedpost.
Gotcha. I missed that part then. So yeah,
So
so
her,
she
her her hands are handcuffed together, but she's not attached to the bed anymore.
right. So she goes after Melissa. They have a scuffle that ends up going down the stairs and then basically ends up with Allison stabbing Melissa, and Melissa dies. And so the teacher comes out of the room, and Allison is wondering why, and he's like, "Well, I have the key to your handcuffs. Do you want me to help you?" And he comes down there and he does start to tell her what was going on because, Melissa told her a little bit of what was going on, but we find out that the teacher is actually the one that's the head honcho in this whole thing.
He's like the master puppeteer.
Right. Which is funny you say that because like the credits showed like puppeteer things. Anyways, so what's going on here is he's talking about how the founders of our country set up this system for politics where, if something happened to the person in charge, there's this chain of command where the next person or whoever ends up, getting office. And what had to happen was he was devising a plan to have the mayor killed, the other guy that was running against her killed, basically everybody to be killed that would lead to him becoming the mayor. And because, like Sarah said earlier, because he knew that Melissa and her brother hated their dad, they would buy into it. But not only them, also the cop and the mayor's like advisor dude, they were both in on it too. And so there was a whole group, this whole film that was actually a part of the killings and whatnot. I feel like only Melissa and her brother were the ones that were actually doing the killing. But as far as like writing things on the wall or putting up the big tapestry with, riddle things on it too, that's where some of those other characters come into play. So, so he becomes mayor. Every Basically, him and Allison and her dad have like this understanding of tell them the truth, but not the whole truth. Like for the people when they have to actually say what happened, which is funny because that's exactly what politicians do. So everything seems fine. I think it's 1 year later. We see that Allison is in school now and she's, becoming this big thing. She's a president of something. And the mayor, is now, running the city, doing a great job. They do this little thing at the end where they're both giving some sort of speech and they're kind of like saying the same speech, but obviously in different locations. And this is also what was weird to me. The clothes, do you know where I'm going with this? The
You talking
closing
about
shot?
the kid that killed the cop?
No, that's not what I was thinking. But yeah, the kid that killed the cop that was handcuffed to the bridge, he got like a Medal of Honor. He was great. But what I was going for is the very, very last shot of the film was Allison, getting a applause for her speech, and it looked like she was gonna throw up. Like I thought she had seen somebody maybe in the founders get up or
The
something.
the applause of the crowd was giving her PTSD flashbacks to the traumatic events that she had been through. But
Wow.
why just the noise level, I guess, was a trigger for her. But why that was important, I don't know, because like she felt uncomfortable and you could see that, but then that didn't lead to anything. Like it didn't
Right.
I felt like it didn't add anything to the film. It was a very weird way to end it.
So to even add on to that, so it seemed like something was going to happen. The credits roll and the lights did not come on in the theater quite yet. And so like there's this whole like animated thing where they're saying, the actors and actresses' names and it's like associating with the character on screen. And I'm just thinking there's going to be some sort of mid-credit scene where we find out why it looked like she was going to puke and nothing happened. The lights came on after that short little animated thing and then it was time to go home. So again, there was so many things in this movie that just did not seem to make sense, and it pulled me out. It seriously did. I was just like walking out of the theater, like that was one of the worst movies of 2024, and it's been 3 weeks. So
Yeah, I mean, the bar's not one of the worst movies. We've only seen two movies. Like, okay, well, one's gonna be the worst and one's gonna be the best of what we've seen. But
yeah, but I don't. We'll have to see. But I'm just saying that movie was bad, very bad. Is there anything else that you want to mention? I feel like I mentioned all my little things throughout the film that really I thought were either dumb or not needed.
I don't think it was worth seeing in theaters, and I was ready to walk out like 20, 30 minutes in, and I almost half wish I did.
Which is funny because there was a couple that was like 4 seats down or something from our group, and I heard like the noise of their cup moving, and I thought I heard them whispering. I thought they were getting up to leave, quite honestly. Just because the movie was so bad in the beginning. I was looking over there wondering, are they leaving? What's going on? But no, they stayed the whole movie. Um, but yeah, I could see why people would want to leave. I think it's definitely a movie that should have been released to streaming instead, or it felt very much like. So, I mean, I worked at a video rental store before, and I know that when these big movies come out, or just bigger movies, typically, there's a direct to DVD movie that is titled something very similar, but it's very low budget and they're just cashing in on that big name. So, like for instance, when The Avengers came out, there was a different movie that was also called The Avengers with a different tagline, and it looked like super cheap superhero films, not Marvel with the high budget. So I kind of feel like with Thanksgiving coming out, this should have just been like a direct to DVD type situation, like a month later or something, or just added onto streaming. But those are our thoughts and opinions on the movie. Again, I gave it a 2. Sarah, you gave it a what?
Three.
A 3. So again, yeah, the bar is not very high so far here in 2024. If you enjoyed this type of video, make sure to turn on notifications and subscribe to the channel because we are going to be doing tons of these throughout the year. We love going to the movies and then talking to all of you about our experiences. That way you can decide whether you want to go see these movies. Drops a like if you liked the video and drops a comment letting us know if you saw the movie, and if you did, what is your opinion? Do you agree with us or do you completely disagree with us? Let us know. And then as always, everybody, thank you for watching. We'll see you next time.